Monica from Life is Art, and it is Wednesday. Let's create. I am just working my way around my laptop here to get the video up so I can make sure that I am on the screen. And there we go. Making sure that I'm in the right place at the right time. Today we are going to be making a hexagon twist pocket card. And that might sound difficult, but it's just a few simple steps to get it to where you want it to be. And yes, I have practiced it, and I am hoping that it will go through without a hitch. Sometimes when we do these fancy cards, we run into problems, but I'm pretty sure I've got it down pat, so we can do it from start to finish without any major mishaps. You know what? That's just real life, right? Sometimes it works, and sometimes it takes a little extra effort. But we're going to be using tonight some of the mix-in paper for this card. I'm loving this one here, which is the Glacier paper with the really nice sized polka dot on it. And it kind of goes with the little bit of a theme that I've got going on. We're also going to be using this month's stamp of the month, which is called Springtime Borders. That is the February stamp of the month. And then we're also going to be using a stamp from the Storybook Scrapbooking stamp set. Now, it's not the dragon. It's okay. I'm resisting the urge to put the dragon on every single thing I make. We're actually going to be using this nice little rainbow here. And then I'm also going to be using another stamp set. We've got 3 stamp sets going into this card. And that is the Sending Good Vibes stamp set, which has all these fabulous sentiments on there. So those are the stamp sets that we're going to be using. We're also going to be using a few different ink colors. Now, some of them I have already stamped ahead of time just to make the process a little bit easier. So I'm using Glacier and Flamingo and Avocado, and of course my favorite, Intense Black ink, because we're going to do a little bit of coloring on this. And so we're going to be hauling out those markers in a few minutes, because, you know, that's always fun, and there will be a little bit of fussy cutting. So that's where we're headed. We're going to make a hexagon pocket twist card. And so I'm going to show you the example today before we start, so you know where we're going with this. And when we were doing our Wednesday morning We Craft Wednesdays today, I was asking the ladies, you know, what's something that you'd be interested in seeing? And they all thought, well, a few of them thought that a card that you can use to include a gift card in is kind of nice sometimes, right? Then it's a gift and a card. And so that's what this is. So it's got a belly band on it, which we can just slide off like that. There's our cute little rainbow. And then we've got this hexagon that twists open and has not 1, not 2, but 3 pocket places in here. And they are a good enough size that you could tuck a gift card in there. So that's what we're going to be working on. And you will see that coming together. And it might look a little bit intricate, but it's just a matter of folding your paper. Okay, and so like I said, when we started out, hopefully I've got everything down pat so it will go through smoothly. So if you're popping on to watch, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, just say replay. All right, so the first thing we're going to start with, I've got all my stamp sets here now in a different spot than where they were, because I was rifling through them. The first piece we're going to start with is the base for our card. And this is just a piece of white daisy cardstock that has been cut to 8 1/8 by 8 1/4. So it's almost a square. It's only 1/8 of an inch different. So 8 1/8 by 8 1/4, and I will post the measurements when I post the photos. Hey, good evening, Michelle. Nice to see you're watching. So we've got our 8 1/8 this way, and we've got 8 1/4 going the other way. Oh my goodness, there's hair everywhere. You'd think I was shedding. So what we're going to do first is we're going to make our card lined up here with 8 1/8. And I'm just going to line it up on my Versamat. Just making sure here. I'm going to move it up a little bit more. I'm going to line it up on my Versamat because I need to do some scoring for this to work. And you can tell just by looking at that card that scoring was going to be required. Now, I don't have a scoring board, so I like to use my ruler and my bone folder or scoring tool to create my score lines. And I'm just going to scooch a couple things out of the way because my ruler is nice and long, which is perfect for doing scoring. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have our, let me just make sure, this is the 8 1/4 length. I want the 8 1/8 length going across here. So 8 1/8. And I know that that sounds very specific. Let me just scooch it up a little bit, but it's just how it works. So 8 1/8. So the 1/8 is halfway between the 8 and 8 1/4, just like that. So that's the length we want along here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. So, and this is going to create a little tab. And that's pretty standard, a 1/2 inch tab. So there is our 1/2 inch score line. Then we're going to go to 2 7/8, which is halfway between 2 3/4 and 3. So I just put my tool here like this and then line it up, making sure my ruler is straight up and down. So 2 7/8. And if you're using a scoreboard, they're all marked out to 1/8 of an inch pretty much. And so that will be easy peasy. Then we're going to jump to 5 1/4, which is nice and easy. That's a nice even measurement, 5 1/4. And then our last one will be at 7 5/8, which if you don't like measuring that, you can spin it around and just do a 1/2 inch in from the edge, because that's what you're making, is the 1/2 inch tab. So 7 5/8 here, just like that. I think that's straight-ish. So let me recap that. We've scored it at along the 8 1/8 inch side at 1/2 inch, 2 7/8, 5 1/4, and then 7 5/8. Then we're going to turn it 90 degrees. So now we have our 8 1/4 inch side going across the top here. And we are going to score at 4 1/8. So we're just scoring it in half. So 4 1/8. Right like that. Okay. Now we need to do some folding and some diagonal scoring. Okay. So we've got our tabs here. I'm turning it back. So we've got our 8 1/8 inch side. And you know what? I'm going to grab my pencil. Do I have a pencil? I don't have a pencil. That's not helpful. All right. Maybe I will do some folding so you can see where the lines are. This first tab right here, we want to score our crease as a mountain fold. And that means we need to take our edge and fold it to the back. So we're creating a mountain fold, so it pops up like a mountain, okay? So we're folding this one to the back, and I'm just going to make sure that it all lines up before I crease it down. Just like that, okay? Flip it back over to the front, and we can straighten that out. That was just so we know which way to fold it. Now this next vertical is also a mountain fold, so we're going to fold this to the back. And I'm going to flip it, which makes it always a little bit awkward to say I folded it to the back. Making sure that it's lining up at the top and the bottom before I crease it down. Back to the front. Okay, so we've created 2 mountain folds. Now this third crease line, the vertical one, we're going to fold it as a mountain fold as well. And make sure it's straight. Crease that down. And it's nice to take something straight like a bone folder or the handle of your scissors and just make sure that you're getting a nice crisp crease line. Okay. Oh, I've got a message that popped up there. Got to get it out of the way so I can see. Hey, Carol, nice to see you're watching. And then this very last one at the 1/2 inch tab, we're making that a mountain fold as well. So we're going to fold it to the back, just like that. Make sure it lines up and give it a crease. So now we've got all those vertical lines folded as mountain folds. So you'll see that your piece of paper is trying to curl around like this, and that's a good indication that you've done them all the right direction when they want to curl around in a circle. Now we need to fold our horizontal line here, and that is also going to be a mountain fold. So that means we need to push these 2 sides to the back to create that mountain fold, and I'm going to just make sure that everything lines up nicely before I give it the final push for the crease, because I'm a little bit off on this one. I can tell right now my ruler wasn't quite exactly where I want it to be. So there we go. Get it close as we can. Okay, so now we've got all mountain folds. So it curls this way, and this one goes like this. Okay? And then we need to do some diagonal score lines. And now that I've got all those creases in there, you can kind of see where the lines are. And what we need to do is we need to make a diagonal score line from this point right here down through this center intersection and over here to where the tab is. Okay, so we're going to go all the way from this top of the second big rectangle through the join here in the middle down to the very far side. So we're just going to line that up through that center. So we're going to go here, here, here. These are the 3 intersections. And put a diagonal score line right like that. Now we're going to shift over and we're going to do this final rectangle here. We're going to go from the crease with the tab through this intersection here and then down to this bottom one in between these first 2 bottom rectangles. So from the top, right by where the tab crease is, through this intersection and down to this one here at the bottom in a nice straight diagonal line. Now, all of our other folds to this point have been mountain folds. So we have pushed the paper to the back to create these as mountain folds. These diagonal lines need to be valley folds. So we're going to bring our paper up and fold it to the front along that crease line. And it kind of helps sometimes just to remind it where it's going when it's such a long, straight stretch. So we're folding this to the front now. Okay, so now we've created a valley fold. You can see that it makes a V, like a valley. Okay, and now we're going to move over to this next diagonal line. And we're going to kind of massage it as we go, making sure we're not getting off the crease line. And there we go. Crease it all the way across. And there is our second valley fold on the diagonal. And now if you put your fingers underneath and push up, it kind of just goes pop, pop. And you can push it down and it'll go pop, pop, just like that. And it's great because paper has a memory. If you've ever practiced folding origami and things like that, paper has a memory. So once you do that first crease, it will remember that's the way it's supposed to fold. How cool is that? It's better than my memory. And then we're going to bring in our scissors because what we want to do is we want to get rid of two pieces on here. And the two pieces we want is this top 1/2 inch tab right down to this center mountain fold. So I'm going to just kind of make some marks along there. We're getting rid of this portion of tab. And then we also want to get rid of this portion on the bottom half over here. Okay, so those two sections of tab. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our scissors and we're going to snip along the crease line all the way up like this. And then we're going to snip in from the side just to that first intersection and remove just that little 1/2 inch tab on the bottom side there. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for the top over here. So I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to snip down this long crease line, the 1/2 inch one, just until I get to that horizontal intersection, and then snip off this portion like that. So we'll get those out of the way. And now your template for your card base should look like this. So you should have 3 rectangles at the top. These two have been divided into triangles, and then a 1/2 inch tab. And then on the bottom, you should have a 1/2 inch tab, 2 rectangles that have been divided into triangles, and a full rectangle. Okay? Pretty simple. Hey, Joanne, nice to see you made it. No worries about being late. That's the great thing about replay on Facebook. Now, we're going to just scooch this aside for a minute because we need to bring in some pattern paper to help us with decorating. And so for our pattern paper, we need 2 different sizes. So let me just check. Yes, this is the larger one. So this first piece of pattern paper, and I'm using that lovely mix-in polka dot paper. This one is a single piece that is 2 1/4 by 4 inches. And then I need 2 pieces that are 2 1/4 by 3 7/8. 3 7/8. And I'm going to lay these on my Versamat horizontally. So we've got our large one up here, and then we have our 2 smaller size ones that are just 3 3/3. Okay. Now these smaller ones, we need to do a bit of trimming. What we need to do is we need to cut a diagonal on them because you remember we created some triangles here, some long rectangular triangles. And so we're going to take these 2 smaller pieces of pattern paper and we're going to divide them going from the upper left corner to the lower right. That's important. That's why I've got them set here so I don't forget. We're going to go from the upper left corner diagonally to the bottom right. So I'm going to do that for both of them. So I'm just going to use my little photo trimmer and I'm going to line up the upper left corner with the bottom right corner over here and give it a snip, snippity-doo-dah, and set it there like that. And then we're going to do the exact same. So we're going to go from the upper left corner to the bottom right corner. Line it up. Sometimes that's a little bit tedious, but we get there in the end. And then give that a snip. And we can move that out of the way. So that's all the pattern papers that we need to decorate this whole thing. So we've got our piece here with our 2 tabs, and I'm actually going to turn it 90 degrees. So I'm going to have a full rectangle up here, and that's what we're going to, that's where we're going to put this lovely polka dotted pattern paper that is the full size, has not been trimmed, and it's a little bit larger than the other 2. Let me just remind myself, this was 2 1/4 by 4 inches. And it's going to center right in the center of this little rectangle. And just with a tiny little bit of the white daisy showing all the way around. I think that looks nice and crisp with that white daisy showing around. You could, of course, use lots of colored pattern papers for this, but I really like that. And then we're going to take 2 of the triangles and add them right here on these two 90-degree triangles. And so they're going to be lined up 90 degrees to 90 degrees. This is why it helps to have those papers just sitting right there beside, because it makes it nice and easy to know which piece you want to use. Now, I hope your video is still playing for you. Mine has gone to a little buffering circle right now. So I'm going to continue working away here. I might refresh it just to see if that helps. Let me know if your live feed is still working. There, it's back again. It's just my computer. And then we're going to glue this one down. I'm using liquid glue for this because it's just easier when you've got these little pointy triangle bits to use glue rather than tape runner or double-sided tape. And so we're just sticking those in. And again, there's just a tiny little bit of the white daisy showing around the edge. So just make sure you get those centered on there. And then we're going to move over to this side, and we want to add in our pattern paper on that side. And I'm just going to, oh no, I don't need to double check that. I drew myself a little diagram to help me remember. It's always good to have a little diagram. We're going to put these on the same angle as the first ones, but of course they're going to be bumped up because these are the 2 rectangles that have the triangles in them. So let's go ahead and glue those down. It's nice when they're a right angle triangle like this with a 90-degree corner, because then it's just super simple. Lining it up in that 90-degree corner. There we go. And stick it down. And because of the way that this folds up into that hexagon shape, you don't really have to worry if your patterns aren't lined up. Like you can see here that we've got a little bit of the polka dots, and then these ones are bumped up, and then the, it doesn't matter because you're not looking at any full piece altogether against any other full piece altogether. So that makes it a lot easier for the cutting and the matching. It doesn't have to match up. Okay, and that's all for that. Now what we want to do is we want to take a look at all of our mountains and valleys. So all of our vertical ones were folded mountains. So let's pop them up from behind so that it kind of arcs up on our piece of paper. And so what that's telling us is that we need to fold this center line this way, okay? And once we fold it this way, we can see that we have a tab sticking out up here, and we have a tab sticking out down here. And what we want to do is we want to then attach these tabs. So what I need to do is I need to fold this tab in here like this and apply some adhesive to this folded inside. Okay, and so I'm just going to use my double-sided adhesive for this and stick it down. I could use red tape if I want. Just stick that down. And then I need to fold this tab in and also apply some adhesive to it. And this way our little tabs are tucked inside of our card, and they're not covering up any of our pattern paper, and they won't be visible. They'll be tucked inside. Okay, so we folded those tabs in. Now we can go ahead and remove the backing, making sure they stay folded in like that. Okay, so you might even want to put your fingers on those to keep them tucked in. And all we're going to do is we're going to close this. You just want to make sure that those tabs get tucked right in and stuck down flat. So it's almost easier to start in the center and push out and make sure that everything is nice and flat. Now, once you've folded this, you may find that some little pieces, this one is not okay. This one, the little tab is kind of sticking up above the edge here. And the simple solution for that is you could angle those tabs, which would be really nice, before you fold it up. Or you can just take your scissors and you can just trim that part off. Come at it from this angle. You can just trim a little bit off there and nobody will be the wiser. Okay, so now we have our rectangle and two triangles. And if we flip it over, we have a rectangle that's not decorated and two triangles the other way. Okay, and all we're going to do, because we've already done the folding and we've made our mountain folds and our valley folds and our paper has memory, all we're going to do is we're going to hold this portion here with our rectangle on the front and our triangle on the back, and then this side, okay, so nice good grip, and then we're just going to push like this. All we're doing is pushing because that paper remembers how it's supposed to fold, and look at that, it just folds right down into our hexagon. Isn't that awesome? You know, it's always that last spot where they say, okay, and then you just go whoop, and there it is. But this one, because of all those folds and because of the paper having memory, everything is just going to fall into place, which is really good when you give it to somebody so that they know how to open and close it too, because there's nothing worse than getting a really fancy fold card and you open it up and you read the message and then you go to fold it back down and you're like, oh, I don't know how it goes. You got to call them up and say, how did you fold this? Because I don't know how to put it back together. So because of the paper memory and doing those mountain and valley folds in the right order, then it just goes whoop, no problem. And you can see when you look at the top that you've now created a pocket here at the back, and then a pocket in between. So you've got 3 pockets. So now let's do some decorating for inside the pockets. I'm going to set that aside. I have gone ahead and cut some honey butter cardstock to be the base for our little pockets. And these were cut to 2 1/4 by 4 inches. And then I have also cut some white daisy cardstock. And so there's 3 of these. And I've cut 3 at 2 inches by 3 3/4. So these are 2 1/4 by 4. And these are 2 inches by 3 3/4. So we've got a nice little card to go in our pocket that has a nice little colored edge. And then we can do some decorating on here. Now, a couple of them I have gone ahead and already decorated, but let's add some decoration onto this one. I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper, and I've got my Versamat that's flipped over here so I can do some stamping on it. And this is where I want to bring in that stamp of the month for February, which is Springtime Borders, and I really liked the rainbow. And it's going to really match nicely with that rainbow that we've got from the Storybook stamp set. So I've got my rainbow loaded up here on my block, and I want to go ahead and use the Flamingo ink just to add a nice little splash of rainbow color at the bottom of my paper. So I'm just going to ink up one section here. I don't have to ink the whole thing because I only need 2 inches worth. And what I want to do is I want to kind of center this little rainbow with the heart right there at the bottom. Hopefully I've got it straight. And there we go, creating a nice little heart rainbow at the bottom there with that Flamingo ink. We can move that aside. And then I want to bring in the sentiment for my card. And I'm using the one from the Sending Good Vibes stamp set. And I'm going with the rainbow theme, right? So sending you good vibes, happiness, health, rainbows, sunshine, laughter, joy, and love, which I think is just such a fun, just thinking of you just because kind of sentiment. So I'm going to use my black ink here. And I'm going to ink this up. And if I was smart, I would use my Misty to do this so that I could stamp it more than once. But I'm going to hope for the best and give it the, what is it, the Boy Scout try. Now I'm going to turn this horizontally, and I'm going to keep it close to me so that it's near the edge of my table, because that will give me the best contact on my sort of warpy table. And hopefully not stick my head right in the middle of everything. And stamp it down. Hopefully I have centered it. Michelle's saying, very cool. You like that hexagon fold? I thought it was super cool. I've seen a few of them online and gave it a try, and it was pretty fun. Okay, I've kind of gone off the edge a smidge. But that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to stick it onto the card inside, and by the magic of Facebook, there we go. There's our first card, and I'll fix that other one later. And then for our second card that's going to go in, I decided to go with some avocado green for my little rainbows, and I shifted the rainbows down a little bit so you can see that this is the other half of the heart, and then moved along so we get different patterns. Stamped it in avocado ink, and then I can go ahead and add this to the second one. And I'm not adding anything else onto this one because I thought this would be the nice spot to write my little message for my card. Sorry, I had a hiccup. A little message for my card. And so we'll go ahead and center that on the honey butter. Try and center it. There we go. And then for the third one, I took some more of the borders from this stamp set. So again, I continued with the rainbows going across. So I moved it down again and got some of the other patterns on there. But then I also used my avocado ink to stamp some of the rubber boots. I used the Flamingo to stamp some of the umbrellas. And then this one here that has the sentiments going across, Hello Spring, in full bloom, Spring has sprung. I went ahead and stamped the Spring has sprung on this one. So it's really fun to use all those borders. And some of them you can even cut apart for different embellishments, like those little butterflies and rain boots. You can totally make nice little cutout embellishments with those. Even the rainbows, and not so much the umbrellas because they're kind of stuck together, but you could give it a try. And just add this onto the final card. Now, any of these cards could have the addition of a gift card in the pocket, but it could also just be standalone, or just put a gift card in without the pocket. So that's my done one. So now you need to take a look at your card and decide where the pockets are. So the first pocket is tucked underneath this little triangle inside. So you're going to slide it in flat right against that big rectangle at the front. And that angled triangle is actually creating the back of the pocket. See how it just kind of slides right in there like that? And then the last one is also the same. You're going to slide it right in against that rectangle at the back, and that little triangle in front is going to hold it into that spot. Okay, the one in the center is the one that's a little bit different. And this one, you kind of have to look at the back side. See how this is a rectangle? This section here is also a rectangle. So I find by just kind of looking at the back, it gives you a guide as to where to go. So you're going to follow this edge, but you're going to go in between those two triangles. So the front and back of this pocket are actually two triangles, but it holds the card right in there. And when you open it up, this would also be another way to put it in. It's just to open it up like a wallet and tuck them all in a row. So that's a good way to check if you've got it in the right spot. And then just fold it down, and there we go. Now let's create the belly band for this, because if you don't have a belly band, it kind of does this. Kind of has a little bit of springy effect because, you know, cardstock is nice and thick. So for our belly band, I've got a piece of 3/4 inch honey butter cardstock, and I've cut it to 10 inches long. Then I also went ahead and stamped the little rainbow for the front for a nice little embellishment, because otherwise the front looks kind of plain, right? It's a little bit plain like that. And so let's grab some markers here. We're going to use the dark red blend. I'm going to use the lightest one. We're going to go ahead and color. Oh, I've already gone outside the line. The very first swipe with the marker. It just tells you everything you need to know right there. She's just coloring outside the lines today. So we're going to go with the dark red all the way around. Add some color. And then let's add some coral. And we'll go for the mid on the coral. And I like to turn my image so that my hand follows the curve. The way your hand naturally goes around the curve. It makes it a little bit easier. And just color that all in. It doesn't have to be precise, obviously, because I've already gone outside the lines 10 times. So there's some coral, and then let's grab our citrus blend, and we'll use the mid color on the citrus. And this is not necessarily true to rainbow form, but it's close enough. All the way along with that mid citrus blend. And then let's grab a green. We'll use light green. And we'll use the mid of the light green. Kind of fresh and bright, as rainbows should be, right? Once the storm is over, everything looks a little fresher and brighter. Washes all the dust off. We're having snow here today, so I guess I'm sort of, revolting against the snow by having rainbows and things. And then our last one, let's grab the aqua blue, and we'll use the mid color for this as well. The mid color is nice when you use it all the way across the board, because it kind of gives you the same value of color, I think. Although we did use the light for the red, just to kind of blend in a little bit better, because that red is pretty dark. And there we go. That was our aqua blue. And then let's also add a little bit of shadow on our clouds, and we'll use the ice gray, but this time we're going to use the lightest. And I'm just going to follow the little, the dotted shadows here at the bottom, just to add a little swoop-de-doop at the bottom of those clouds, wherever those little dots are, and then anywhere there's a little line at the top. So there's a little extra there, a little extra there, and a little extra there. We like to be a little extra. And then we got to bring out our scissors, because we got to do some fussy cutting on this. And so we'll just follow our edge all the way around and go around the little clouds. The little puffy clouds. The clouds are always nice and puffy after the rain. They don't look angry anymore. They just look like cheerful clouds. And there we go. And we're even going to go into the inside. And turn the corner. Back around. I'm singing to my scissors right now. I've decided that's why I do this. When I'm fussy cutting, I'm just singing to my scissors. I like these scissors so much. So they get serenaded. I'm going to cut to the edge there. I need to fix the inside because it's bugging me. So I'll go back and do that in a second. And all the way around, leaving a nice halo, pivoting my paper. And there we go. Now, I do need to come back in here and fix this because I gaffed it up. All the way around. And that's the spot where I needed to fix. I wasn't happy with that. There we go. Okay. Sometimes you just got to go back and fix it. Now, we need to add some adhesive onto our belly band, and we need to wrap it around. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it around the length of this rectangle on the front. So just put your belly band to the back, and you want to wrap it around. And I prefer to wrap it around rather than scoring, because I want to give my belly band a little bit of leeway. If you wrap it around really tight and you score it really tight, you're going to have an awful time sliding it on and off later. So you may as well just relax and give it a little bit of extra love. I'm going to scooch it just a little bit, because I want to make sure that my join is going to be hidden by my rainbow. Rainbows cover all sorts of things. And there we go. I think that's a little better. Just give a little tiny pinch on the sides. Looks good. Now that we have done that, we can take our, where'd it go? Our red tape. I'm going to use red tape for this because belly bands need a little extra stick-to-itiveness. And I'm going to add some right to the end of this piece that's going to be folded over first. And so adding that to the top of the end, like that. Give it a little burnish. And then I want to open this one up and add some right to the end on the inside. And this way we can ensure that our belly band is going to be stuck on both ends. And we haven't put adhesive anywhere where we don't want adhesive. So let's bring back in our card, wrap it around, allowing for a little bit of wiggle room. We can remove the backing off of this one that's facing up, and then we can remove the backing off of this one that's facing towards the other piece, and just fold it over. And before you stick it down, you want to make sure it lines up and is nice and straight, because once you stick that red tape down, it's stuck on for pretty much good. And now our little rainbow, let's add a little bit of dimension if you want to. You don't have to, because it's kind of bulky already. But if you're hand delivering this, it doesn't matter. We're going to add a little bit of foam tape to our rainbow. And the easiest way to do that is just to flip it over and make sure it's still in the center. And I'm using my thin foam tape for this. And just go ahead and add a little snip of foam tape right in the middle of where that belly band will hit. And that way you know that your foam tape is going to be stuck to the belly band and not to your card base. And then just take the backing off of that. Oops, the backing came back. And then we can go ahead and put this centered on the front, and it's hiding that little crease or the join from our belly band. There we go. And if we want to, we can grab our white gel pen, which I forgot to leave out. Let me see, I want my number 10. And we're going to add a little bit of a shiny spot on our rainbow, because we always like to have a little shiny spot on our rainbow. So there's a little shine and a couple little dots and a little bit smaller shine. And we're just going to work our way along our rainbow with a shiny spot and a couple dots that get smaller and smaller as we go down. There we go. You can barely see it, but it's a nice little touch just to add that extra little bit there. Now, I could add some other embellishment on here. I could add just about anything to embellish the front of this, but I thought I would keep in sort of theme with everything else that's happening on the card by adding the rainbow. And then, of course, we can just slide this off. I'm trying not to put my finger on the gel pen just in case it's not completely dry. And then, of course, our card opens up like this to show our 3 cards inside, one with our sentiment, and then the other 2, which could be gift cards, but also our message, and tucked in to those 3 little pocket spots in our hexagon twisted pocket card. Isn't that so fun? I think that's a super fun way. And you know what? If you were doing this for like a baby shower and you were doing it as a group of people, you could go in on, 2 or 3 gift cards, and they would all fit into one card. And I don't think I left enough room for love here. Trying to get my belly band back on. There we go. Talented I am. I just needed to squeeze my card together a little bit. There we go. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that twisted hexagon triple pocket card come together. And you could decorate the back if you want to, but it's not necessary. And I hope you guys enjoy making this. And if you do make one of these, I would love to see what you create. So once I've posted the pictures, be sure to snap a photo of your card and put it in the comments. All right, awesome. Have a wonderful evening. Happy Wednesday to you all. And we will see you again soon. Toodaloo. Bye.